Was this in Chicago? So I know a lot of people in my comment section have asked about this in regards to the blacklisted thermal cameras. Yes, I was told it was in Chicago. I worked for Northwestern at one of their rural hospitals. So I was told by credible sources that they were in all of their locations. These are the cameras. So this was our ambulance bay. And all other entrances were locked, and every employee had to come through the ambulance bay. So let me say this: I don't have an issue with any hospital, although Northwestern's the only hospital that I know that put in thermal cameras. The thermal cameras isn't the issue; it's the brand they used. Because if you remember, and I'm sure they did have them downtown, because downtown Northwestern's hospital is a huge university hospital. I'm sure they constantly, day and night, have employees coming in and out. So it probably would serve them more to have thermal cameras than somebody always, scanning everybody. That said, they used one of the companies that Trump had blacklisted. And yet it was very, very designed, because as soon as lockdowns were announced, these were being installed the same day. This is the back of the camera. I took pictures of the back of them, the front, as you can see, the front of them. These were the pictures I sent to people, that I sent to the FBI, the DOJ, to everybody. And the pin there is the serial number. So they put these in the ambulance bay. This was when there were no visitors allowed at that time, but right before the hospitals opened back up to visitors, they put all of these same cameras in the lobby too, at my location. And I took pictures of those as well. Same brand. This is the brand. Dua, that's the brand that the serial number goes back to. And what does it say? Dua offers race recognition, black, white, yellow. Yes, it can racial profile. I mean, it's facial recognition, but racial profiling, knowing whether you're black, white, Asian, Mexican, Indian. Yeah, that's how good these cameras are. So this is the reason, because again, the reason Trump had blacklisted these 7 Chinese telecom companies was because of national security risks and human rights abuses against the Uyghurs in China. The Uyghurs are a small Muslim population in China. They persecute them because they're like China in general. They're under constant surveillance. Well, now we are too. But the problem is not China. The problem is all of the criminals in this country that decided let's do the China model. Yet all of our media, all of our politicians carry on about China, China, China. No, what about the hospital that put these in all of their locations? Racial profiling their employees using a brand that was blacklisted by the President of the United States at the time. I don't remember, I could be wrong about this, but I'm almost sure that it wasn't like Northwestern sent any letter out giving our signature saying we're okay with this. I don't believe they did. I could be, unless I just forgot about it, but I don't think so. But let's be clear, these were put in before the George Floyd incident. The racial profiling cameras were put in before George Floyd. What happened after George Floyd? This letter was sent out to every employee and every volunteer that worked at every Chicagoland and surrounding suburbs hospital, because there was 2 pages of this nonsense. You can see at the top, it says Racial Equity Rapid Response Team Joint Statement, and it's "We stand with Black Lives Matter." Yeah, it's like they already had this all typed up pretty quick too, right after George Floyd. And yet after the 2 pages of all their typed up nonsense, there were 3 pages of every hospital in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs that signed it. And it went to every volunteer and every employee. Everybody remembers this. So that's what went out. And you can see the black light put in big bold letters. How convenient. And yet, just before all that happened, Northwestern put in racial profiling thermal cameras. So that's my biggest issue, is that nobody seems to want, we don't have anybody that wants to focus on the criminals in this country. Everybody, from the media to every politician, there is nobody that seems to want to focus on all of the criminals that put Americans that are in this country, that put other Americans at risk. That's my issue. Everybody just China, China, China. Did Northwestern buy these from China and their Dua company? Yeah, so what? That doesn't make China the problem. It makes the people in this country the problem. The people in this country that decided to let's do the China model. Let's go with the communist agenda that they do in China. That's where the focus should be. Instead, what they're doing, that the media and the politicians have always done, is focus on everything outside this country, because then you're not focused on all the criminals, that what they have done to us Americans. This was a violation, putting in racial profiling cameras. But, not even that. They were blacklisted, and yet DOJ and FBI didn't care. I just showed the pictures. I sent all those pictures with other pictures of even the ones from the lobby to all of these places for months. And nobody said a word. Nobody got back to me. No media. So when that media that you think is on your side and cares so much about the American people or American values, will tell them to F off, okay? Because all they want to do is China, China, China. Because they aren't strong enough, they're not good character enough to focus on, no, the criminals here, because they're covering for them. Unfortunately, it's a sad state of affairs we're in. And look, I'm sure that Northwestern, they targeted me. I ended up having to leave there. And I'm sure because they have other cameras. Before they put the thermal cameras in, every hospital has cameras. I'm sure they saw me taking pictures of the back of the cameras and thought, what is she up to? Because the reason I had to leave was because of their nonsense. But it was outright targeting. And I knew I knew it likely was because of these cameras. But they had called me on my day off, my manager, to say that I had to because the day before, a tech was going to do a blood sugar, and she scanned a wristband at the desk and then walked in the wrong patient room. I had nothing to do with it. But because there was a wristband at the desk, they said that was all on me. So they called me on my day off, told me I couldn't come back to work until I put in writing I'll be a safe nurse. They knew that I would quit because of that. Because they know that I'm a good nurse, and I'm not going to take responsibility for something I didn't do, nor am I going to put in writing that I'm going to be a good nurse when I already am a good nurse, okay? So they knew exactly what to do. They just wanted me to quit, and I'm sure because I was taking pictures of the cameras. So, and this is how it absolutely was targeting, is because, and nurses know, we have to scan wristbands. This is a big Joint Commission thing. The problem is in behavioral health, which is a whole different area of medicine in many ways that people don't consider. We can't get patients to keep them on. Patients are not laying in their beds like they are on other medical units. They're up walking around. They pull them off. They don't like wearing them. They start pulling and picking at them. I've even had patients where they switch bands. So it's almost better in the med room that you have a picture of the patient and you do your regular checks that nurses do, the rights and all that before you give the med. But the problem is we have to scan. If we don't, we get written up. So on the behavioral health unit at this hospital, in their med room on that unit, they have a whole Cardex of wristbands because of patients always taking them off. There's no way around it, and you don't want to get written up. So these are things that people do. It's at every hospital they do it at behavioral health because you can't get patients to keep them on. So if they were going to target me in the way, if it was really about what they said it was about, then they should have written everybody on the behavioral health unit up. They didn't. They only did it to me because what they were really going after was because they knew I was taking pictures of those cameras. We need to start having a government that focuses on the criminals and the corporations in this country that are out of control.